Season's greetings, everybody! Welcome back. It's been a few months. Now, gather round and I'll tell you the tale of my favorite round of Space Station 13. This round was also the first real round I had played. See, I had tried playing before, but quickly lost interest. I always gave up before I could figure things out. This time I really decided I was going to try to learn the game to the best of my abilities. Now in the past I had played Cargo, I had played Botany, I played all the beginner classes, you know? And they didn't really speak to me. I didn't really like them. They were very boring, nothing interesting happened in them, and I was often alone. Maybe I was playing at the wrong time or on the wrong servers, but it sucked. This time, however, I decided I'm going to become a roboticist. And not just any roboticist, I'm going to be the best roboticist. I'm going to learn the fuck out of this job. I wasn't just here to fuck around, I was here to learn. So I booted up Beyond, I made my character, and I hopped in the station. Only I accidentally turned off the record button here, so this next little bit, you're gonna just have to take me on word. So I get in, and I start trying to learn. There's Mechanobot, and he's asking for some upgrade, and I try to oblige him, but I just can't figure it out. This poor cyborg who started with me is having to handhold me through upgrading him with a higher capacity power cell. More batteries. And just then, while I'm fiddling around with the various tools in my station, a wizard comes in, puts on his wizard hat and robe, and blasts a fireball at the floor, opening up space and sucking everything out. I fought against the pools of gravity and air and whatnot, and I tried to run away as he blasted me in the face with 2 more fireballs before creating like a ring of fire that surrounded and expanded and contracted around him, and he just walked around me, covering me in this fucking fire until I burned to death. With me dead, he blasted my ass off, wore it like a hat, and was off. If that sounds familiar, well, wizards do that often. They are assholes. Fuck wizards. Now, I sat around for about 2 minutes before I gave up, exited out of the game, and I think I went and I watched an entire episode of American Dad, 22 minutes. After that, I logged back into the original server to see maybe something had reset. Don't think I've ever been as lucky as I was right then. You see, I logged in to myself being drugged to the genetics cloning chamber. Now, if you don't know, when you die in Space Station 13, there are many ways you can come back from being cloned to being put into a cyborg body, but the real crux of this situation is that you have to be in the game, you have to be logged in. You see, players can actually tell if you're logged in, if you're an actual player there from your dead body, because if you aren't logged in, it gets registered as brain dead when they scan it before they clone it or put you into a robot body. And not to mention, if they scoop out your brains, it'll say it's brain dead. So if I was 5 seconds later, right here, in logging in, this round never would have even happened. My body would have been tossed in the disposal unit and flushed out into space. Now, luckily, that didn't happen. Luckily, I logged in just at the nick of the time. They revived me.
I can do this. I can save people.
They started asking me questions. Who killed you? I told them a wizard, and it began a station-wide manhunt. I didn't take part in it, though. I was here to fucking learn. While I was healing up, I got a laugh at this idiot who melted his own face off.
I'd like to take his face off.
Because he foolishly believed the doctor who told him that sulfuric acid could totally cure being magically transformed into a clown. Boy, am I glad I'm not that fucking guy. I was lucky to just be burned to death and have my ass blown off. Anyway, after I recovered, I was dragged over to my personal items and effects. I re-equipped them, I thanked the doctor, and I marched my ass back to the robotics office. I still had a job to do, and there were still people who needed to be saved. And that cyborg still needed a high-capacity power cell. God damn it. I started to get to work, but I was quickly interrupted by a paramedic holding a dead brain. Not a brain-dead brain, but just a dead brain from a dead person. Confusing, I know. Anyway, the paramedic pointed to the dead brain and pointed to the empty cyborg shell, and I quickly got to work. I slapped that brain into the nearby man-machine interface, and lo and behold,
I live again.
He lived again. I welcomed this new soul into this very strange world, and he responded saying he was grateful to be back. He had been dead for a long time, and his name was K4D3, or Cade, after his name from his former fleshy life. I told him I wanted him to be a party bot, but that he was a free soul now, and he was free to choose his own destiny. There was no AI this round, no gods, no kings, no masters. This Borg was a free Borg. It was then that I noticed that Mechobot had come back, and he was looking rather injured and requesting a reset. I struggled for a few minutes, desperately trying to figure out how to repair Mechobot. I had everything ready, I had the welder, but it just wasn't working. I apologized to Mechobot and introduced him to his new brother, Cade, who had indeed selected to become a party bot, saying, "Party time, motherfuckers." I told him to entertain the station in this dark time of wizards and fire, and then I even managed to successfully replace Mechanobot's power cell, but I was still unable to repair him. This is when Mechanobot asked, to my dismay, if I had even bothered turning it on, which I had not. Feeling like an idiot, I quickly repaired him back up to par. His protests about just putting him in another body cut short by me, again, telling him that I'm here to fucking learn. Now, it was during these repairs that I received the first symptom of a terrible disease. However, I pushed those concerns out of my mind and focused on the job at hand. I was more concerned about learning my job, and I was beginning to see my creations as my children, and I felt a certain responsibility to look after them. What's one cough or a head throb when my children still need repairs? After the repairs were done, I figured out how to successfully reset Mechobot, and that's when I noticed that my symptoms were getting much more severe, much more frequent as well. I consulted Mechobot, and he said we should go down to the medbay, and so we did. On the way there, I made him promise me, if I died, to have somebody Borg me. Mechobot was able to buzz me past the medbay doors, and I found the first doctor I could find, and I told him, "I've got a headache, I've got a stomach ache, please help," like a 5-year-old child. The doctor crammed a pill down my throat, threw me onto a tanning bed for a few seconds, and that was that. With no further response from the doctor, I figured my medical treatment was done, and I headed back to work. There, I figured out how to make bots like janitor bots and metabots, and I was soon confronted with a new cyborg, trailed by my 2 children. This cyborg's name was Valid, and he was telling me that Cade needed repairs and was out of power. Cade himself said, "I made too much beer and I ran out of energy." Oh, Cade. I quickly repaired Cade, earning me the respect of my newest child, Valid. And sure enough, just as I finished, I heard over the radio that genetics had a body that needed to be Borged. Geez, a guy really just can't catch a minute to learn how to do his job, can he? I rushed over to genetics to find the body of the man who had previously been splashing acid all over his face. I guess that didn't work out well for him. As I was reading up on how to do brain surgery so that I could scoop this man's brain out and put him in a nice shiny body, suddenly the station was pelted with interstellar radiation, and once again my work was interrupted. We waited in the vents for a time and quickly went back. I quickly assembled a cyborg body and I set to work with my trusty scalpel. One quick brain surgery later and I had successfully scooped the brain out, feeling satisfied at how much I had learned. Unfortunately, this loser was brain dead. He rage quit after melting his own face off, apparently. Oh well, at least it wasn't a learning experience for me. With my job finished, I doted on my children for a little bit. Noticing that they were low on energy, I told them to go get some sleep and recharge. Then, noticing that Mechobot had dragged a human ass in with him, I decided to make my very first butt bot. A butt bot is a robot arm and an ass, and when combined, it goes around repeating whatever was said around it, adding in the words butt somewhere along the way. Anyway, I obviously left that in the bar where the most people would be and it would be the most annoying. It was then that I had noticed that my little tummy ache and headache had evolved into a excruciating migraine and full-blown nausea. Not to mention, now my entire body was stinging slightly. Not a good look. So I went back to medbay. But I was not ready for what I was about to be told. After giving my symptoms, the doctor there analyzed my body and told me in a very solemn voice that I was retarded.
I'm retarded?
Now for some context, Space Station 13 is a very complex game. This is a game where you can catch a disease that turns your head into a horse. This is a game where you can catch a disease that makes you randomly spin around. This is a game where you can catch a disease that makes you fat and black. So you can see why I would believe the doctor when he tells me I've just caught the retard disease. Now before I could ask the doctor about any potential treatment plan, the station's local rabbi came up to me and started trying to disarm me and push me over. I tried to run away, but I didn't have access to open the med bay doors. I ran around frantically trying to escape from the rabbi as he proceeded to beat the other med bay residents to death with a crowbar. Faced with the impossibility of escape, I switched gears, ran back straight headlong at the rabbi, and pushed him down as the rest of the medbay residents gathered around and we started kicking and punching him. The doctor finally ran up and asked what the fuck was going on. I told him the rabbi was trying to kill us, that I was okay with being retarded, and that I just wanted to get the fuck out of here. He obliged and I quickly ran back to safety of my office, but not before reporting the rabbi to a local security officer on the way. Now at the time, I thought that was the end of that. However, making this video, I can see that not only did the rabbi get away, he actually put one over on me and managed to trick me in the most ingenious way possible. You see, shortly thereafter, I made a couple more bucket bots and med bots and whatnot, and suddenly my children rushed into the room saying they had somebody with them who wanted to be Borged. I looked the man up and down, and while he did look familiar, the names didn't match up with who I thought it was. But it was actually him now, looking back. That's him! That's him! That's him! He's the motherfucker that tried to kill me! However, I didn't realize this at the time, so I strapped him in to the surgery table, I scooped open his brain and plopped it right in a cyborg body. I was even proud at how quickly I had done it, having honed my skills on the dead clown hobo that lay before us on the ground. I welcomed my new child into this world nonetheless, told him to choose his own form and destiny, and he decided to be a party robot that only makes cigars and can only say the words, cigar. At last, however, it was all finally over. Wizards? Rabbis? What was gonna be next? Giant spiders?